Hi everyone. I hope everyone's having a good semester so far, and we're almost to the end. I can't believe how quickly it's gone by. This week I wanted to talk about cultural diversity. Me and several of the other interns have been talking about cultural diversity lately. And a lot of times I think with cultural diversity we automatically think about like people from different countries, foreign cultures, or maybe even large geographical regions like Western culture versus Southern culture versus Northern culture, that type of thing. But I think we fail to remember that cultural diversity can be very big between even two counties or across one state. For example, one of the other interns where I'm placed at is from Charleston, and so she has stated several times that she often has a hard time understanding what clients are saying, especially if they don't speak very clearly. She's referred to one client in particular as having marble mouth, and she says it sounds like he's got marbles in between his teeth and his lips. And after she described it that way, I was like, it does kind of sound that way. But and I have a hard time understanding him myself, and I'm from this area. But we were talking about some cultural norms that are different, even across the state, as you know, Charleston versus the mountains of South Carolina. With especially language, there are specific sayings that she has talked about that she's never heard before. The one that's coming to my mind right now is Lord willing and the creek don't rise. And that's something that people say around here all the time, and she's like, I've never heard anybody say that before. And but our county is in the foothills of Appalachia, so a lot of that culture comes from Appalachia culture. That the coastal areas, their culture is different. The food differs there than here. They like spicy food. There's a very Cajun influence there. They eat a lot of rice, whereas here the food is not as spicy. There's potatoes instead of rice. There they eat a lot of chicken, and here it's incorporated with more ham and those types of things. So I think it's very interesting how just a couple of hours apart the cultures can be so different. So I think that's something that we need to keep in mind, if we're going from a big city to a rural area, or, like in this case, from a coastal area to a mountainous area, and really just kind of, especially if we're going to be working in that area for a long time, maybe take some time to read some books written from that same geographical area, just to kind of brush up on culture. Another thing that the clients at where we are, a culture that is different, is the poverty culture. And most of us who are in school probably are from middle class families, but the culture of poverty is very different than even middle class culture. And I recently started reading a book. I borrowed it from my field instructor, and I've seen it before and I've read parts of it before, but I'm really kind of going back and just taking my time reading it slowly. And it's called A Framework for Understanding Poverty. The author escapes me at the moment, but you can Google a framework for understanding poverty, and it'll pop right up. But it's got some very interesting information in it, things I'd never really thought about before. And it's really given me a good understanding of that poverty culture and how it's different than middle class and even wealthy trains of thought, and the differences between poverty level, middle class level, and wealthy. I mean, I knew there was some differences, but I just didn't even realize how vast the differences can be, on the spectrum, from even middle class versus poverty and middle class versus wealthy. So I highly recommend that you get that book if you get the opportunity, and thanks for letting me share.